Back to Tech Talk. I'm Ken Mingis, Executive Editor at Computer World. I'm here with PC World, Macworld's Michael Simon,
Hello.
and Juliet Beauchamp running the video operation here to talk about technology that scares us. Of course, Halloween's coming, so it's a good time to talk about that. Just a quick reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get future episodes. If you're watching us on LinkedIn Live, please follow the Computer World page. And so again, for the same reason. If you've got questions or comments along the way about maybe technology that frightens you, please leave them in the comments. We will be checking to see if there's anything we can weigh in on. So, Michael, thanks for being here.
I'm the only one who wore a costume.
How spooktacular here? What do you mean? I don't know.
You're part of the Blue Man Group.
I guess I'm part of the Blue Man Group without the makeup. Technology, I mean, I know it's kind of a joke in some ways that, everybody's sort of scared of something technology-wise. But, there are a lot of things that are sort of happening right now around social media platforms, around AI, facial recognition that I think do actually offer some genuine frights and scares that people should be aware of. So, we were talking about this earlier, and you were like, technology doesn't scare me.
Yeah, well,
so does it or not?
Well, the basis, the bottom floor of where we're at right now is just it's remarkable. In the last 5 years maybe, this stuff has just exploded. I'm talking about smart speakers, smart home stuff. The iPhone is 12 years old. That launched all the smartphone stuff, and that's amazing that we have these powerful little handheld PCs in our pocket.
Yep.
But without really even making a one monumental splash. We have Alexa, we have Google Assistant, we have Siri. All these things have kind of slowly integrated and just taken over our homes. And I walk into my house when I get home, the lights go on, my door locks, cameras outside are always recording. And, with little cost, little effort, and really little thought goes into it. And my home is, it's completely secure. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, I have a bunch of Halloween decorations outside.
Yeah.
And I was checking on them with my family. We all went outside, the three of us. I have an 8-year-old son.
Yeah.
My wife's son and I went outside, and I ran inside to grab something and absent-mindedly closed the front door.
Okay. Behind you as you went in?
I went out.
Okay, as you went out, okay.
So when that happens, it sets off a timer in motion.
Yeah.
So in 2 minutes, if I don't come back...
It's locked?
It locks.
Okay.
Now, if I have a phone on me, I can get back in. I didn't. My wife didn't.
Okay.
The back door, same thing. Everything's locked.
Yeah.
And so I'm yelling to Alexa from my back porch to open
now,
to
this
open
is when
my
we need
door.
Video, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean,
I'm sorry, Michael, I can't do that.
Well,
now.
that's exactly what it said because I hadn't updated my August smart lock with my new code.
Yeah.
So it was saying, go to the Alexa app and program.
But you couldn't
do
that
which
because
I
you
couldn't
had no
do.
phone.
I went to my neighbor's house to borrow their phone
to
log into my August app, and I couldn't remember my password.
No.
I couldn't get into my...
I think the most frightening thing here is your memory here.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. But I mean, hey, we have unique passwords.
Okay.
That's what we preach. That's what
we
we write about.
Passwords are good.
And I couldn't get into my password manager without my encrypted key, which I don't know. So I was stuck. What I did do was...
I want to know how you got in.
I called AAA.
Okay.
And
Literally
I had
AAA?
And the reason why, because
why would you call AAA?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Because for whatever reason, I hadn't put my car in the garage that day. Oh, that's another thing. I have a smart garage door opener as well.
I'm not so sure these
couldn't
things
get
are
into
smart,
that app
man,
either.
But okay, go ahead.
So I was able to call AAA, who was able to use an old-fashioned method of prying open my door. Well, they have a thing where they kind of slide it in, pump a bit of air, open it up, and then you're able to get in.
Okay.
And then I was able to use my my infrared garage door opener, get in, and then I have a code for my garage door.
Okay.
I was able to do that. So 2 things here. 1, smart homes only work if you're not a moron.
Yeah.
2, if you're smart.
If you're smart, and But the other thing was
smart home requires a smart owner.
It absolutely does. But on the other hand, it worked.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of steps there,
Yeah.
and they so people say that these smart homes know everything about you. Sure, they didn't know it was me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't let me in, and so the point of that convoluted story is we're still in control of this technology.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that's sentient. There's nothing that Alexa's
Right.
not.
We're not near Skynet
Yeah,
or
right, and
you
even
know.
Skynet wasn't sentient when it
Well,
started.
true,
You know, if
yeah.
you go, you know, the
Exactly.
the basis of the Terminator program wasn't to, you know, although that
Wipe
is
out humanity.
it's not the greatest name. Branding issues, Skynet.
Yeah.
But you know that wasn't the point.
Yeah.
Will we reach a point where Alexa is so smart that it knows my voice, it knows my, I mean, it does in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it does. It
Yeah.
does. It can recognize cadence, and it can. You know, there are multiple users, but it's not to the point where I can just say Alexa, and it can say, oh, "Hello, Michael. What do you need?"
Yeah.
How far away are we from that? And that's where I think the fear is will come into play. Right now, we're putting forth fears that are somewhat unfounded.
They're
right
sort
now.
of future-oriented.
Yes.
They're basically fears that could happen 5,
Right,
10,
right.
20 years down the road if technology continues to track the way it's tracking now.
Right. I'd say we're, you know, a decade, maybe more, away from
I
like
would say at least
true
10.
AI.
Oh, yeah.
AI, as we call
Even
it,
further.
it's programmed.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to be updated. It learns to a certain extent.
Yep.
Our patterns. You know, like my phone will say in the morning, "Do you want to open Twitter?" Because you do that every damn morning.
Right.
How
Mine
about now?
doesn't. I've got different
Yeah,
things.
but
yeah.
that's very
But that's
basic
predictive.
stuff.
That's just a
Yeah.
predictive logarithm.
Right. So they're still humans. That we're still in control of our fate, so
Yeah.
to speak.
I would argue along those lines, and in case you're just tuning in, that we're talking about technology that scares us and frightens us and why. I would argue that we have already passed the point where technology is faster than we can understand the world around us. And because I was thinking about this coming in, and one of the things that scares me, it's not so much a technology as it is a platform, and it's Facebook. You know, the ability for information to travel or disinformation to travel faster than we can basically check it. And, you know, I think there are a lot of ramifications for what that means for societies in general, for, you know, the fate of the world as we know it, not to be too dramatic about it. And I think there's actually, you know, based on what Mark Zuckerberg has talked about even recently, I don't think Facebook has come to grips with the fact that it is more than just a platform. It is a publisher in some ways, and its decision to allow advertising by candidates to be literally untrue
Yep.
because they don't want to be in the business of policing free speech, they say, free speech. I think that adds to the disinformation campaigns that are going on out there. And I find that, I find that kind of scary. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't have a solution.
Yep.
Although I would argue that, you know, you probably should require advertising on your site to be truthful, at least if it's coming from, you know, political candidates.
I mean, there's ads on ABC that are done truthfully. You know,
Right.
Colgate says we have the blah blah toothpaste, and Crest
The best
sues them,
toothpaste,
you
yes.
know. And that's been going on since the dawn of time. What's the bigger problem now is that it's becoming so difficult to know what's real and what's not, even from so-called trusted sources
Yeah.
like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times.
Yeah.
You know, I don't trust anything. But we're journalists.
You can trust me.
We're of course,
I would never lie to you.
present company excluded.
Okay, thanks.
But, you know,
To your
we're
point.
journalists. We're trained to have a critical,
It's supposed to be
untrusting
cynical
eye.
and skeptical. You know,
Yes.
prove it. You say the sky is blue,
Absolutely.
prove it. Show me.
And that's what we've done our careers. We built our careers on it, and now we're just more heightened because there's so much information. But most people believe what they're told,
or what they see. It's a very
Especially-
passive way of taking in information.
especially if it's from a source that they believe in, that they trust, like Fox News, like MSNBC, or, you know, they see a
Or
TV
the website
celebrity.
they go to every day.
Yeah, but it's amplified by Twitter, who creates personalities out of those brands.
Yeah.
They're not just a TV network.
Right.
You know, CNN talks to me.
Mhm.
Well, not me. I don't follow CNN.
You're not
But-
hearing voices in your head, are you? Okay.
What I mean is that brands are, you know, like Wendy's will fight with McDonald's. Like they're larger than just companies. So when they tell you something, you trust them like you would a friend.
Mhm.
And that's where all of that's where technology scares me, is we're losing the ability
To discern
to, right, what's real, what's fake, what's corporate,
what's important and
people.
what's not, too. I would
Yeah.
argue, too, that, you know, one of the things with social media platforms, and this goes beyond just Facebook, is that there is, and this goes back to my point, there is so much information now that is delivered, you know, in real time, all the
Yeah.
time, wherever you are, that it's almost impossible for many people, and myself included, to try to separate the signal from the noise, you know? And I think that we're, in some ways, the human consciousness collectively is being overwhelmed by the amount of information we now have
Yeah.
in our hands, and I don't think we figured out yet how to deal with that. And I don't
I
know
don't
what
even
the
know
answer
if we
is.
can, because it's generally the human element that messes everything up. People sowing stories and information that is untrue knowingly.
Yeah.
Like that's what their stock and trade is. Like they have businesses based on that.
Yeah.
And so the technology is only good as what we fit into it. Going back to the story of me not getting into my house.
Mm-hmm.
Had I, and now I have those steps set up. Had I set up one of those steps properly, I would have been fine, because I would have had my password. I would have gotten in, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And that's the.
So you were the weak link.
Yeah.
In that particular chain of events.
The technology did what it was supposed to do.
Right.
Facebook is doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
The people behind
That's true.
it
You're right.
is the
Good
problem.
point. Right.
So we blame Facebook. We blame Mark Zuckerberg. And of course, he has some culpability.
Yeah.
He owns it.
Yeah.
And he's also being very callous about how the way forward is. You
Yeah.
know, he's kind of playing both sides of it and speaking out of both sides of his mouth, and people get frustrated with that. But it's the people that cause the issue, that insert the problems, that bring the fear to
Yeah.
this.
Well, I mean, and when you think about it too, and we can move away from Facebook, but one final point there is that Facebook is designed to encourage engagement.
Yes.
And engagement happens when people get irritated, angry. I mean, sure, you can you can watch lots of pretty happy cat videos and dog videos, but when somebody calls you an idiot, that's likely to engage you more.
Absolutely, yeah.
And more, and the repetition there. So it's almost an enragement machine that keeps people coming back. Something else that scares me, and in case you're just tuning in, I should remind you we're talking about technology that scares us in honor of Halloween. Boo. Facial recognition. I think, aside from AI, and I think the ability, there are a lot of companies that have done a lot with facial recognition, and seeing that in the hands of governments that are not, well, almost any government. I'm sort of suspicious of any government that has that kind of ability to track people in real time. And of course, I know a lot of people say my phone is being tracked by the government, and maybe it is, maybe it's not. But I think there's a danger there too. I mean, a lot of this stuff starts to look like Big Brother 1984 real quickly if in the wrong hands.
Yep.
And once again, I don't see how you end the march of technology forward. I don't think facial recognition is going anywhere. It's not going to go away. It's going to scale up. It's going to be able to be scaled up much more quickly than it is even now. And I think that's going to open the door for a lot of potential suppression of entire nations or the world.
I mean,
maybe that's too scary.
On the one hand, I think we put too much. We give the government too much stock. I mean, they can't even run themselves properly. Now they're gonna track 300 billion people.
Yeah.
But let's say that is, let's say they are.
Maybe
Let's
not
say there
now,
is
but
sure.
in our mythical 5 to 10 year future,
Yeah.
I think it may be more possible.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's a fear that you can use that information. People who work
In
for the
bad
government
ways.
can, have vendettas against people they know, personal things.
Yeah.
On a wider scale, certainly, minority groups who have been suppressed over the course of history,
Mm-hmm.
now it becomes that much easier to do so. On the other hand, facial recognition is something that is important to developing security.
Yep.
And so there's
always
a balance
it's
there.
never purely one or the other.
Yeah.
There's always
And you can say the same thing about fingerprints. They've been using fingerprints forever.
Yeah.
And that's a way to track people as well. It's harder, and it's, you need to be physically near someone. But what we've seen in the rise of facial recognition since, I don't know, 3 years ago even?
Yeah.
When did Face ID come out? I mean, that was
3 years
it was
ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just exploded.
Yeah.
And it's good, it's fast, it's smart,
It's cool.
secure.
It's cool. I love
And
my facial ID.
the Android's starting to get into it now, and it's varying results and some issues, but it's the fact that we have a thing in our pocket that can scan our face, 3D, know it's us, unlock our phone. That's like the ultimate security
Yeah.
for your information, which is here. I mean,
Yep.
everything you want, everything everything you have, it's here.
Yeah.
And you want that to be as secure as possible. Yes, a 15-digit passcode is the most secure. No one's going to do that.
No.
We want biometrics. And right now, facial recognition is the one.
Yeah, good point. I should ask Juliet, since she is part of this too, whether or not there are any technology fears that you're worried about.
I am with you on the facial recognition. I don't know if you guys have been to the airport recently, but it seems like there's these booths where you can sort of bypass security. It's sort of like similar to TSA PreCheck, but you can do it immediately. And it seems like there's some sort of biometric data gathered about you. And that is a little scary to me because it's not even as though it's the TSA or some sort of, for some reason, a private company having my biometric data scares me more than a public entity like the TSA.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
The thing about a private company is you have absolutely, no way of dictating how that data and that information is protected, shared, used. At least with the government, theoretically, at least here in the U.S., you have some way of, petitioning the government to turn something off or delete the files or come up with privacy legislation or something like that. But with private companies, you don't. I'm always amazed by people who are on Facebook concerned about privacy as they're posting everywhere that they are, what they're eating, what they're doing, where they've been, where they live.
Everyone has a line.
Everybody what?
Everyone has a line of what they're willing to share, and I don't think most people who post to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, they don't necessarily correlate their privacy with what they share. Like I'm choosing to share this.
Yeah.
I'm not choosing to share this. It doesn't quite work that way.
Well,
once you're out there,
in total, all of that stuff can be aggregated by the companies that are collecting that data. So maybe each discrete place you post or every picture you take in and of itself doesn't say a lot about you, but everything you have done over the last 10 years can give an advertiser or a company or a government a very good idea for who you are and what matters to you.
Yeah.
I should pause and see if we've got any questions or comments from anybody that may be frightened by technology, and if not, then we'll assume all is well.
No, not too much. Somebody's mentioned AI.
Yeah.
Concerned about AI, machine learning, smartphones.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't see that as much as a scary right now. I really don't think we're going to wind up with like Vicky and iRobot, taking over the robots.
Eventually.
It's possible, we were talking. We did an interview yesterday with Keith Shaw, who's at a robotics site now, and he was talking about the fact that artificial intelligence is still really a ways out.
Yeah.
True
it's
artificial
not even
intelligence.
really artificial.
Sentient intelligence.
We're nowhere near that.
Is nowhere near that.
Yeah.
So I think the idea that artificial intelligence can evolve to take over the world.
We might never get there. Certainly not in our lifetime.
Right. I don't think we will. Not in our lifetimes, at least. Great. Okay. That was an awesome discussion. Any final thoughts, Juliet, before we wrap it up for the day?
I was thinking, we can wrap it up shortly, but I think one that you guys, I guess, kind of touched on maybe with a little bit with AI is autonomous driving. And Ken, I know we've recently had a discussion about autonomous cars. And I think I also had a discussion with Lucas a week or so back about autonomous driving. And that is something that certainly concerns me a bit. I think once everyone is in an autonomous car, I'm not going to be as worried or concerned about it. But as it is, I'm already worried about other drivers on the road. So because I live in Massachusetts now, it's different out here than in Pennsylvania. So I think that's something that is a bit scary to me. But a bit similar to AI.
I was just going to say that's one of those things. It's like technology where there is good and bad. I think autonomous driving and autonomous systems are not inherently bad. I think obviously one of the problems we have right now is you've got real life drivers, humans, on the highways. At the same time, you've got autonomous driving vehicles, and I don't think those two play very well together. So it's this transition time. I agree. Once the entire world, assuming it gets that way, is fully autonomous when it comes to driving, the chances of accidents and things like that will probably go down. It's the fact that you've got the human error problem, which you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, it's the human and is the weak link in the chain.
100% of accidents are caused by us.
Yes.
Whether we're speeding or drinking or not paying attention or
Texting.
Whatever it is. Humans cause the accidents, and I mean, rarely does a brake fail.
Right.
You know, what's it, 0.01% probably where there's a car problem,
Yeah.
and that causes the accident. But, so, you know, if you're afraid of an autonomous car, we get into Uber drivers. We don't know who these people are. Taxis, buses.
Yep.
It's far more likely for someone to drive off a cliff than for a car to decide, I don't like you anymore. I'm taking you to a next
You're out of
state.
here.
I'm all for autonomous cars because, you know, it would, first of all, it would end congestion, rubbernecking. All the things that drive road rage, all the things that drive us nuts.
Don't take my car. I like to drive.
I love to drive.
I love to drive.
I drove an hour and a half to get here this morning just to be with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I drove an hour.
But we can still have a car.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
We just can't do anything with it. We just get in and let it take us places.
But I mean, unless I'm assuming you're a stand-up guy. I assume you follow the rules of the road. You stop at stop signs, stop at red lights,
generally.
do 5 to 10 miles over the speed limit.
Maybe 15.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? So you get to enjoy your car.
Yeah.
And someone else takes care of all that stuff for you. And there's no more road rage. You don't get angry at some guy tailgating you.
I actually don't do road rage. I just get out of the way.
So what's the point of driving?
Autonomous driving. Well, this is Massachusetts. Autonomous driving doesn't scare me, I have to admit. And when you think about the safety systems that are now in cars that can, see ahead, automatic braking, lane keep assistant,
stuff we have already,
the stuff that's already
impressive.
there is actually really, really impressive. And I think it does cut down on accidents.
Totally.
Because of the human factor.
I can't even tell you how many times
So now you can text and drive as much as you want, right?
Just putting on my blinker to go in the other lane, that little blind spot.
Yeah.
Warned you. 1 out of 50 times, I would have not noticed that guy was there because it's a smaller car, or I didn't turn my head all the way, whatever it is, and I got that little beep.
Yep.
And I know immediately.
And you keep going.
Yeah. Get out of my way.
So I think the point being, technology can be scary. The potential for technology to be scary is real. But as always, there is a positive side to the technology that scares us. When used
people
correctly,
are the problem.
when technology is used for good rather than ill, it is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
But we're the problem, folks. Be afraid of us.
Yeah, technology's fine. It's human beings that are going to screw everything up.
At least when it comes to driving, right?
Most
all of it.
Everything?
Passwords, security, the human factor. Okay. On that cheerful
note,
on
next week's show,
we'll see if we survive. Michael, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Juliet, thanks for weighing in and being here as well.
Thank you.
Just a quick reminder that coming up next Thursday, I believe, we're going to be doing a LinkedIn Live and a YouTube Live tech talk with Jay Import from CSO to talk about printer security, scary printers, coming up next week. In the meantime, if you like the shows that you're seeing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow the Computer World LinkedIn Live page, and we'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.